Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels. Today we are assembling the Dark Carnival Nightmare box from 2nd edition. I do not think Weird has a 3rd edition version of this box. I'm pretty sure they will just ship you 3rd edition cards and the 2nd edition box. But this is an alt of the performer keywords, and it's not a one-for-one matchup with Colette's core box. It's got some extra stuff in it. So we'll be assembling Mr. Cooper here, which is our Colette, some flying monkeys, here's one of the renders, that are mechanical doves, Baritone Lola, which I believe is our Cassandra, Mercury and Thin Lizzy, which are both different kinds of showgirls, and lastly, some mannequins, which are mannequins. Anyways, let's look at the renders on the back. Yeah, I feel like the flying monkeys and the mannequins are going to be pretty difficult, but there's all of our models. Let's look at the sprues. Okay, yeah, I can see some potential difficulty here. Here's our first sprue. We got Mr. Cooper in the center, Mercury over here, and yep, that's Thin Lizzy. And then our considerably larger sprue, Baritone Lola, right here. The 3 flying monkeys, and the 2 mannequins. I'm going to guess those mannequins are going to be the most difficult, but let's do our normal order. Start with the master, and then the totems, henchmen, and then any minions. Sorry. So let's start with Mr. Cooper first. Here's our sprue. We're going to do our normal, grabbing the body, going to slap the legs on. Next, do the face and then the 2 parts of the scarf first. I think those will be easier to go on before the arms, and we'll end with the 2 arms. Once we have the body, go ahead and actually glue the 2 legs together before you jam them down here. Looks like they've got like a tooth and slot situation going on. So do that first, and then we'll jam them on the torso. Those are 2 legs put together. It's a weird angle he's standing in, but I would use the butt as a reference to determine if it's aligned correctly or not, because that is a nice flat connection point. Now let's jam that on the torso. There it is attached. Because the butt looks like it's one big connection point, you would think you should push on this bit and force it as far back so it can connect to the tails of the coat, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It'll just generate a big gap in his waist. So in fact, you want to squish and close the front gap as much as possible, and then just make sure there's not a whole ton of gap there. That's the important part. Otherwise, it's just going to be ugly. So let's give him a face. No, face bad. Face bad. Don't do face yet. Peel that off. The scarf needs to go in on those slots on his shoulders, and I'm relatively certain the face is going to make that a lot more difficult, so let's do the scarf first. Looking at the sprue, this one is going to be on Cooper's left side, and this one is going to be on Cooper's right side. The connection point is on the back of both of these bits, right there and right there. That one has a nice little tooth as well. So let's do the left scarf and then the right scarf. Yeah, definitely don't do the face first. There it is connected. It actually can also glue to the front of his chest, not just where you see the connection point is on the model. So that's going to be pretty solid. Let's do the right side now. This one didn't have the tooth as sort of a guide to how it's supposed to sit in, but it didn't take me long to get it nice and flush. It looks good. Now I'll finally add the face. There we go. Just a little grumpy. Should be happy. He's running a circus. Anyways, let's do his arms. And check your thumbs. We've got a right arm and a left arm. Let's do them in that order. I'm not sure if I ever showed you the back, so here it is, and you can see the obvious connection points where the arms are supposed to go. Just slightly awkward interacting with that scarf, and it looks like I didn't clean up that connection, that flash as well as I could have, but there's the arm. Let's look at him from the front. There we go. Now let's do the left arm. Left arm from the back, left arm from the front. All done. Here's our Mr. Cooper T-posing to assert his dominance on the Malifaux battlefield. Pretty easy model as long as you put the scarves in before the face. Yeah, I guess that left one, the left scarf was the hardest bit. And try not to knock it out of place when you put, sorry, the right scarf. Right scarf was the hardest bit to put in, and make sure to not knock it out of place when you put the right arm in. Otherwise, easy peasy. Let's move on to our flying monkeys. Alright, it's been a bit of time. I've painted my nails. Let's do some monkeys. We've got monkey 1 all here, monkey 2, these 3 columns, and monkey 3, these 3 columns. So 3, 3, and 3. The numbering is a little off on the bottom, just kind of ignore that. So start with monkey number 1, grab the body, put both legs on, put both arms on, combine the 2 pieces of the head, put that on, and then do the wings. I believe this is the right wing and the left wing. And then 2 and 3 are very similar. It appears that they're just mirrored, so you just grab the body, grab the leg, do both arms again, both halves of the head, and then right wing, left wing. Body, leg, arms, head, right wing, left wing. Alright, let's do all 3. Just to be specific, we have right leg, right arm, left arm. Here's our right leg. It doesn't want to fit in the slot too well, so you're going to need to do a decent amount of fiddling. Just make sure your seams look good. You know, I think these are apes, not monkeys. Too bad or weird. The same issue with the left leg. Just be cautious, take your time. Let's do the right arm. Right arm. Noticing a pattern. There is a correct way it's supposed to set in there. It's not that hard to get to that location. It's kind of hard to get it to stay there. Just like sliding around. Take your time. Left arm. I promise I'll stop saying take your time. Left arm. Also relatively smooth once you get it in there and it stays. Let's do the 2 halves of the head next. Right side of the head, plus the left side of the head, and some carpet fuzz because I kind of dropped him. Let's put it on the body. Yeah, looks good. Let's do the other wings. Right wing from the back. It's got a particular angle that will get it to sit in the best. So just rotate it around until it looks good. Front view to get a better look at the angle. Let's do the left wing. Front view and back view. All done. Our first flying monkey is all done. We're going to call this one C. Hardest part is just getting the limbs to sit correctly in their sockets and waiting for them to cure so they don't slip out. That's it. Pretty easy build. Let's move on to the next one. Reminder of the order. Body, right leg, right arm, left arm, right side of the head, left side of the head, right wing, left wing. Body, right leg, right arm, left arm, right half of the head, both sides of the head. Match the head to the body. It's kind of just a big flat surface, so just make sure it's roughly centered. Let's do the wings. Right wing, left wing, front view for the wing angles, and we're done. Flying monkey number 2 is done. We're going to call this one here. Yeah, no real hard difficulty, just small head pieces and the limbs being just a little wiggly. Moving on. Now this is just a mirrored version of the last one. So grab the body, and then the left leg, right arm, right side of the head, left side of the head, right wing, left wing. Body, left leg, right arm, left arm, right side of the head, full head, attached head, right wing, left wing, and front view. All done. All done with flying monkey number 3. We're going to call this one Speak. Literally the same as the last one, just mirrored. Moving on to the henchman, Baritone Lola. Baritone Lola. Not a lot of pieces. Hooray. I'm going to grab the torso, Put the back on there, slap that on top of the tutu. I think this is the top, but we'll see. And because of this little nub here, I think we need to combine both legs first and then glue that to the underside of the tutu. Let's start. Just a forewarning, you don't cut off this bit. Lola is wearing a hat. It's a small top hat. It kind of looks like it is just part of the sprue that connects to the bit, but don't cut it off. Got our torso, put our back into it. Ha. Correct, this is the top of the tutu. It is with the torso attached. Keep in mind that the fingers on each hand should be touching the tutu. Let's combine our legs now. Left leg and the right leg. Before and after. All done with Baritone Lola. Really simple, no difficult parts. Let's move on to the two named minions, Mercury and Thin Lizzy. It disappoints me immensely that I can't continue that laughing bit, because the head was actually pretty hard to get on the body. There's a peg on the underside of the head bit that slots into a hole that's on the body. I'm sure you saw that. Problem is that it doesn't seem to go in like perfectly well, and there was a gap that I could not get to close without modifying it. So I ended up popping the head off and trimming down that peg, and now it's in there pretty good, but you may need to do the same thing. He's done though. Mercury, all done, only 2 pieces, and sadly it was actually kind of difficult getting the head on there. Also, he's got like no butt, so it's a severely disappointing model overall. Let's move on to Thin Lizzy. Order on this one, pretty sure we'll just do the body and then both of the legs, the other arm, this part of the dress, and then the head. Got the body, but let's turn it over, and we're going to jam the legs in there. This is going to be our right leg and our left leg. Right leg, left leg, make sure you nudge that into place because she's going to be standing on it, so it's got to be nice and flat on the ground. I think we need to do the rest of the dress first. It is attached. It looks kind of weird because I don't have the right arm in there yet, but it connects to that hole on the back side, like I said before, or like you've seen before, but it also connects here up under the glove. There is a connection point there. You'll see it if you look. Let's do the right arm. There it is. Seems to look good. Let's put the head on. Also, the neck is pretty thin. Don't accidentally clip that off at the wrong spot. Inspect it very thoroughly before you clip the body out. Should have said that earlier, sorry. There's the head. Very small connection point, but wasn't too difficult to get aligned correctly. That's the angle you're looking for. All done with Thin Lizzy. All done with Thin Lizzy. Not the best angle on the base, but it was just temporary to get her on a base. Hardest part was, well, realizing I need to do the rest of the dress before the right arm. That would not have worked out well at all. And the head, I guess, just making sure it fit on correctly and you didn't cut off too much of the neck. And oh my god, my cat is trying to get on my chair. Anyways, all done with Thin Lizzy. Let's move on to the mannequins. Probably the hardest part. My guess, at least, the hardest part of this build. Here we are, the Carnival Mannequins. Looking like a lot of fiddly bits. I already see that this part of the sword has popped off. Not sure when that happened, but these are really thin bits. Sometimes they get snagged on things. I apologize if the model's not complete. But there's nothing that needs to glue on the end here, so I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to grab the body. Let's go ahead and put the sword that go through the chest on these are on the front, these are on the back. Put that on there first. Then we'll do the head, yeah, the other arm, both legs, and then this little ribbon that goes on the back side of the sword here. Alright, now that we got our body, let's put the hilts of the swords right here in the chest. Alright, good. Now let's go to the back, and then put the ends of the swords coming out of this hole right here. Okay. There's not an exact way I can specify how they go in there. You just have the very nice even socket for the right arm, that way you know they're in the correct way. And obviously the seams look good. Let's add the face now. There's a face. Not too difficult to put in. Let's do the left leg, which is... There we go. Left leg is the straight one, right leg is the bent one. There we go, there's the left leg. Now let's add the right leg. Alright, there's the right leg. It does connect to the underside of the sash. So that is also a connection point. It's just not just the stump that we glued it into. Let's do our right arm. It's slightly bit awkward getting it in there because of all the stuff around it, but nothing that you can't do pretty easily with just using plastic cement and then push it into place with something pokey. Okay, let's do the ribbon on this sword and then we're done. I am relatively certain our connection point is right here between the hand and the hilt of the sword. Alright, I think I got it sorted. It's not actually going to slot into that one spot I said it might slot into. You see the flat end of the connection point here. It's kind of hard to say just because tiny piece, camera's not that great. But that will actually go up against sort of the handguard of the model. You can see part of the ribbon coming out from underneath the hand, just slightly. So that will go up against the handguard. And then this sort of flat side of the model, of the bit, will actually go along the sword, which will make it a slightly bigger connection point. So let me give that a shot. Oh yeah, this is the shot you need. Can't see it from the front of the render, but this is how it goes. There's a bit of a seam there, but I'm not going to fiddle with it too much. It's just a hard thing to connect. So I'm not shooting for perfect, but you can kind of see the fold of the ribbon, and you just want it to line it up with the edge of the bit. And then the bit glues a significant amount to the sword. So you can see all that part right there. It's glued to the sword, which makes it a relatively solid connection point, which is nice. Just getting it in there is difficult. You're going to need to do a lot of nudging. But that's what it looks like from that side. Let's go ahead and see there as well. And then obviously from the front, it almost perfectly matches the render. There we go. Carnival Mannequin number 1 is done. Yeah, obviously the hardest part was that one singular ribbon. The rest of it, not too bad of a build. We're going to call this one Doris. And again, I apologize for the broken off tip of the sword. Looking at G-morts, yes, I still reference G-morts sometimes. It was a relatively common issue with this model, so if that happens, you can probably jury rig a point to it. The nice thing is it's not supposed to be terribly long, but hope I helped, especially with that ribbon. Let's move on to our last boy. Our second mannequin, I think it's going to be slightly more complex, but hopefully an easy enough build. We'll grab the top of the torso, and then we'll go from the top down. So grab the top of the torso, add these 2 ribbons, and then the head and the arms holding the hammer. Also check this part of the hammer. It was bent on this sprue. Anyways, once all that's done, we'll add the pelvis of the mannequin, then do both legs, then this big ribbon right here, and finish it off with the end of that big ribbon. Here, our starting torso, that first ribbon I pointed to, the one that like splits into 2 tails, will go right here. Okay, there we go. It looks a little awkward, but there are grooves in the torso that will give you an idea of where the ribbons are supposed to go. I'm sure all that gap will be filled in with the arms and the hammer once we get to it. Let's do the other ribbon. This is the smallest ribbon on the sprue, at least as far as mass goes, but it'll be probably another awkward connection, but you can see exactly... You can see the groove it's supposed to follow. Note this one ended up being a little too awkward, so we're going to go ahead and add the head and the arms, and then we'll do that ribbon last. Then the head has the tiniest little stump that glues into the top of the neck. Be careful with this head, it's going to pop off later if you don't pay attention. Let's put the arms on. Alright, a couple of things. You are now in kind of panic mode because everything right now is pretty fragile and just doesn't have enough of a connection point to really be solidly secured on the model, so we're just going to be super duper careful. Also, I thought it would have been too difficult to slot the ribbons in underneath the arms, which is why I had attempted to do the ribbons first, but I already knocked this ribbon off and it was easy enough to put back in. So ignore my previous order. Let's do the head and, well, actually you could probably do the head last. I thought the arms were going to be too far in the way. Okay, so grab the torso, put the arms on, do the ribbons, and then the head last because that's probably the weakest connection point. So let's take a look at him on the other side. Now let's finally do that other ribbon. Oh, good lord. Okay, that was pretty difficult, and I'm not 100% confident that it's supposed to go in specifically like that. I was just trying to fill in the ridge that we saw, because that was obviously supposed to be a guide. And there's just that gap right there in the armpit that I can't quite figure out how it's supposed to be filled up, but enough fiddling with it. It matches the render pretty well, so we're going to call that good and move on to the lower part of the body. Here's our pelvis. A decent, easy connection for once on this model. I think the sash might need to go on first because it looks like it could be part of the connection point for the right leg, so we'll do the sash next. There's the sash, looking pretty good. Now let's do that right leg. You can see inside there is a connection point for that leg. On the sash, not just where the pelvis is. I am doomed to keep getting order of assembly wrong, but that's on me. Okay, so actually we've torn off the sash. We're going to put the right leg on before we even glue it to the rest of the body. It's going to connect up here as well as down there. And it'll make more sense once I assemble it. There we go. That looks so much nicer. Now just jam the whole thing on the pelvis. And it goes onto the pelvis just fine. Hooray, folks. Alright. Let's look at the front and do our right leg and then the last little bit of the sash. Left leg, not too terribly solid of a connection point, but nicer than most of the rest of this model. Now let's add on that last little bit to the sash. You can see that sort of gap right there. There it is, connected, nice and flowy. Let's wrap this up. Alright, done with Mannequin 2. The entire thing was difficult. Not going to sugarcoat it. It was really hard. A lot of that being order of operations, order of assembly, whatever. With that in mind, I would be relatively confident in doing it again. The big issue, though, is that nothing is like a really solid connection point, so you're going to be just making sure you don't bend anything else out of place where you're putting the rest of the bits on. I held it by the mallet. That seemed like the one least likely to get ripped out of there because it's connected in both shoulders of the Mini, but find what works best for you. The only other suggestion I didn't mention was that you could probably put the end of the sash on the sash, like first thing, or after you put the right leg on. You don't have to wait for it to put it on last. Alright, we're done. We're gonna call him Boris. Let's look at the whole box. Okay, Dark Carnival box is all done. We've got Mr. Cooper, the 3 flying monkeys, Baritone Lola, Mercury, Thin Lizzy, and 2 Carnival Mannequins. Yeah, it just got harder the longer we went. Well, the Carnival Mannequins were 90% in the difficulty. The only other thing I can say I had any issue with was just the scarf on Mr. Cooper. So, and people don't even play mannequins, so you can probably skip them if you like, but hopefully my tutorial will be helpful if you want to challenge yourself and take those models on. Wouldn't mind doing it again just to make a more coherent assembly video, but I finished them, and I'm pretty sure everything is in its right place, so we're going to call that good for today. I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Enjoy your minis.